Well, it is 100 days until the World Cup, but it's 101 days until the US men's national team take on Paraguay in their opening match. So Charlie's going to be giving us some tiers on who he thinks is set to make this roster and who maybe needs to work a bit harder come toward the end of the season.
So when we're looking at it right now, it's the US men's national team roster locks. Timothy Weah, Christian Pulisic, Ricardo Pepi, Chris Richards, McKennie, Malik Tillman. We have Tim Ream, Brendan Aronson, Dest, Balogun, Anthony Robinson, Mark McKenzie, Tessman, Adams, Freeze, and Alex Freeman. These are my U.S. men's national team roster locks at the moment. So
there's 16 there.
Yeah, these guys are going.
Okay.
There's no doubt. There's not a question. Do you see anyone that you think is?
Yeah, look, I think Brendan Aronson's had a great 2026, right? I don't think his body of work is finished yet. I would love to see him finish what he started this season, especially under Daniel Farke with the national team. I just want to see a bit more. So that's the first one, and probably the only one. No, McKenzie, we just don't have the center backs, so I agree with that one. But that was the one that probably piqued my interest the most.
For me, it's guys starting in the English Premier League for Leeds. And not only that, he's had more goal contributions in the Premier League than he did in the Championship. So for me, it's a no-brainer because he's not a starting option, but he's a phenomenal option to come off the bench given how he's relentless, always working, and the press. So counter-press and pressing, he is one of those guys that you can count on coming off the bench to make a difference.
Okay, so these are your 16 guys that you think are definitely going to play in the World Cup. Now you've got 10 more picks, pretty toasty, cooling off, frozen out, the guys that maybe need to work a bit harder or completely not, you don't think they're going.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at pretty toasty, guys that are on the verge of being included in the 26-man roster and probably are, but we're seeing some players move up based on form right now. You're seeing some guys drop off based off of injury, unavailability, or just not really playing at the level that we all would expect them to.
Okay. So should we start off with frozen out?
Yeah.
Since we've already got the players in there?
The players that I don't see them getting on the roster, we have Brian White, who has been the leading goal scorer in MLS as an American, but just isn't ready for this level yet, and that's fine, right? So we have Chris Brady, Josh Sargent, who just made the move from
You think he's completely frozen out?
Yes, I do, especially when you're looking at the guys in front of him. Everyone's scoring goals, and in particular, Patrick Gajiman and Haji Wright have been doing it with the national team as well. So when you're throwing in club form and performing for Pochettino, and he's been given his chances, that's how it works. James Sands playing in the Bundesliga, but the midfield is the deepest part of this U.S. men's national team. Cameron Carter-Vickers, unfortunately, an injury has sidelined him for so long. Roman Celentano, goalkeeper for Cincinnati, but just not going to be at the level to perform or be the third keeper here. And then Tristan Blackman, who had a sniff with the U.S. men's national team, but don't think he's quite at the level for a World Cup.
Yeah, I got no sniff. I'm interested to see cooling off and pretty toasty because this is where it gets interesting.
So we're starting up at the top here. Okay, so Matt Turner. So we have him in the cooling off. Now, I still think he is the second best keeper, but this season hasn't started off well for the Revolution, and you would need him to have a push to push in, try and push Matt Freese for that starting role. But right now, he's in this phase right now because he's not in scintillating form. I do still think he's one of the top 3 keepers. But I think after Matt Freese, right now all the keepers are essentially right here, cooling off. Okay, now we're gonna go Jonathan Klinsmann. He's playing every week, and he's playing well. So I want to put him in pretty toasty just on that, but cooling off, I'd say he's in the same category as Matt Turner, which for him to play in Serie B and be in that position is fantastic. Okay, so we got the 2 goalkeepers there. Where are we going here? Okay, Patrick Gajiman. He is scorching hot, so he's pretty toasty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's pretty toasty. My man
I think we all agree.
is Jeff Shreves. We got a New Englander here. Grew up in Connecticut, went to college in Rhode Island. We got a New Englander who's been scorching hot in the championship with Derby County, so he's in pretty toasty. Okay, Haji Wright. Equally as hot, if not hotter, leading the line at Coventry, top of the table in the championship with Frank Lampard. he is right there. I think if it's going to come down to either or, I don't see both of them making the U.S. men's national team final roster. And so I think that's going to be the competition all the way towards the end. If you had to say who's got the slight edge, I think just based off of goal scoring with the U.S. men's national team, scoring a brace against Australia, one of our opponents in the World Cup, I think Haji Wright has the lead.
Who's the more natural 9 out of the two?
Right now, it's funny because Patrick Agyemang likes to float out to the left. And Haji Wright was predominantly on the left with for Coventry when he first came in, but now he's relied on to be the 9. So I think if we're talking about, both of them can play the 9. And that's ultimately where they got to be, but I think Haji Wright has the edge here.
Wow.
Okay. Who's up next?
And he has World Cup experience. He scored in a knockout round versus Holland. Yunus Musa, he was frozen out. No doubt he was frozen.
He's back in?
No, but he's in the cooling off category just because of his quality. I think he made one of the most dreadful moves, summer moves you can make, going from Milan to an Atalanta side that has everyone above him in his position situated at the club. So he scores a goal this past week with Atalanta, but he's got so much work to do, and right now he's on the outside looking in. Okay, next we have Johnny Cardoso. Now, his club performance has never matched the national team performances. Real Betis to Atletico Madrid. The guy is playing at Atletico Madrid. So he's got to be in pretty toasty just for that alone. But he still has work to do in this March window because he is by no means assured a spot in the 26-man roster. So he's got a lot of work to do. But the saving grace is he's playing at
Champions League football.
Diego Simeone is his manager. I know it can be a little chaotic at times, but the guy's playing and he's scoring. So, all right, here we go. Christian Roldan, he's in pretty toasty because he has done so well with Pochettino. He's a trusted. He's one of those guys that he's going to add value even if he doesn't play with the group. He's a respect. He brings hard work. He's in there. Okay, where are we going next? Max Arpson. He's in pretty toasty because of how well he's done with Pochettino.
Yeah.
As that with Anthony Robinson out, he stepped up, and as a wingback, he's excelled. So we're throwing him in pretty toasty. Okay, where are we going now? Oh, okay, Miles Robinson, pretty toasty as well.
Rapid fire, here we go.
Let's go, pretty toasty.
Rapid fire.
Where are we going next? Jack McGlynn, cooling off. But Pochettino does see his quality, but definitely cooling off.
What about my guy with the tats up
All right,
there?
where are we going next? Let's go where we were going. All right, Diego Luna, pretty toasty. Even though he hasn't really had a great start to this season in MLS with RSL, but under Pochettino, you know what he brings. Next up, where are we going? Austin Trusty.
What's this?
Down here.
Drag him.
No, I think he's in cooling off.
Okay.
Why do you think he's in cooling off, and why do you think he's in frozen out?
He's in the mix.
Okay.
He's at Celtic. We know where Celtic is, but as a left-footed center back who can play left in the back three, and he's athletic, and he can also play the center. The center back position is not as
It's just not enough quality. Not deep enough, right?
There's not enough depth there. So I think he's in the mix just solely on that alone. And he's playing consistently. Okay, Aiden Morris cooling off. He's there's just too many players in that position, unfortunately. I know he's playing every week at Middlesbrough, and they're contesters to get promoted, but just not enough. Tolkien cooling off. He came in and did well, but there's just too many players in front of him, unfortunately. Scally, he was frozen out. I think he's just cooling off. I think he's potentially in the mix to be the right-sided center back in a back three because there's too many guys in the right wing back spot. So, and unfortunately, that's not his position either. Schulte, I think he's close to frozen out, but he's cooling off as well.
A lot of guys here, Charlie.
It's getting cold out here. It's getting cold out here.
Yeah, Augsburg, the guy's playing every week. He's pretty close, and I know Germany is now sniffing around. There's been reports that possibly Germany is looking at him as well. So I hope that he gets called up in March and he gets an opportunity to see where he is. Berhalter, pretty toasty. He's been phenomenal under Pochettino. Phenomenal for Vancouver. He's got the leadership qualities. Zendejas scored a beautiful volley against Japan. He's in the mix, but I think right now he's in cooling off. If he's healthy, I think he'll get a look in March, at least what I'm hoping, and he can show his qualities to kind of move up the charts.
And then this one.
And then Gio Reyna, the specialty. He's also in cooling off. He's been injured.
Oh, cooling
and
off.
then when he's healthy, he's not playing. So we've seen what he's been able to do with the U.S. men's national team. But if you're not playing every week and you're worried about your fitness, you got to be in cooling off. Unfortunately, he didn't kick on, I think, like we all had hoped.
Okay. Lahoud, comments, concerns?
Yeah, look, I think, in terms of the pretty toasty, I'd argue you can put Max Arfsten in a lock for going to the World Cup, right? He's been the most productive player under Mauricio Pochettino in terms of getting involved in goals, and we don't have another guy because of Jedi.
The only blowback for that, you say because Jedi's out.
Well, Jedi has been available.
Timothy Weah has played left back in a full season in Liga, so he can play on that side. Dest could play on that side. Weston McKennie could play on that side. So if you were telling me if the World Cup were to start today and Anthony Robinson was not available,
I would tell you Weston would not be starting at left back.
So Weah, Weston, and Dest, none of those three would be at left back.
I would love
Arfsten.
Look,
you would start Arfsten over.
I would
all
start
those
Max Arfsten just because there's trust there with Poch, right?
I'm saying
Poch, with me
right now, you would start Max Arfsten over all of those three players.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would start him. Right? And
in a World Cup.
In a World Cup, I would start him. Okay. Especially with the group that we have, the layup group we have, Chuck. The layup group we have, right? But look, the big thing for me and the biggest talking point is Gio Reyna in all these tiers because I think that he's a luxury player. And this U.S. men's national team need to stop giving luxury players chances that they don't deserve. Gio's got all the talent in the world, but is he deserving to be at the World Cup this summer? In my opinion, no. He has to be healthy. He hasn't been healthy. He has the potential, but I'm sick and tired of players with potential. I want players who deliver, and he hasn't delivered with the men's national team, except one time. Hasn't delivered in the last year and a half.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.